Good morning, sir. This is Gayatri Agarwal. This is my submission for assignment 1 and my topic is multi-layered cylinders. So today we will be talking about multi-layered cylinders in depth. So let us begin with understanding what is heat conduction, how it occurs in cylinders. We'll begin with the understanding of the concept of heat conduction through a cylinder. We'll take the example of a hot water pipe. So let's look at the diagram. We'll see this is a cylindrical pipe. It is a cylinder. And with an intuition, we'll feel that the flow of the heat that the heat will flow perpendicular to the surface of the pipe, like this. Like the flow will be in the direction which is perpendicular to the surface of the pipe, right? So, and this heat will continuously flow through these walls of the pipe. Let's take a closer look at the cross-sectional area for a better understanding. Right. And what will this do is that it will separate two liquids which are at different temperatures, and the thickness of these pipes is relatively small, so the temperature gradient will be very large. And because the temperature gradient is large, the heat will flow, of course. So what we have gathered here is that thickness of walls is small, therefore temperature gradient will be large. Now let's coming back to the state of this flow. It can be perceived as a one-dimensional flow because of two things. One is that the temperature is not dependent on the axial length. Like across this length L, the temperature will not change. Also, the angle, azimuthal angle, temperature will not change according to this angle. The temperature will only change as we go from the center line, that is the radial direction. So we can say that temperature is a function of r, where r is a radial distance. And we can also say independent of axial length and azimuthal angle. Now in steady state operation, there is no change in the temperature of the pipe with time. Therefore, we can say that the rate of heat conduction which is inside must be the rate equal to the rate of heat conduction that goes out. Therefore, in short, we can say that the rate of heat conduction in a cylinder must be constant. That So before we go in depth with the multi-layered cylinder, we'll understand the concept. We'll derive an expression for the heat conduction in cylindrical shell. Let's look at these diagrams. The length of this long cylinder will be L, and the heat will flow outward like this radially. The inner radius will be R1, outer radius will be R2. We'll consider the temperature of the inner surface T1 and outer T2. So now let's look at the derivation. So we'll start from the Fourier's law. According to the Fourier's law, the heat conduction for the heat transfer for a cylinder can be expressed in the form of Q conduction cylinder equal to minus Ka dt by dr, where this K is thermal conductivity, A is area, and the small r refers to the radial distance from the center line to any point. Now this A is equal to 2 pi r L, where r is this radial distance. So we can say that A is dependent upon r, and hence area varies in the direction of heat transfer. Therefore, we'll need to integrate to find out the complete, we'll need to integrate to look at the complete picture of this thing. So we'll separate these variables and it will come out to be Q conduction upon a dr into minus Ka dt, minus K dt, sorry. We'll go and integrate this and substitute the value of A as 2 pi r L to dr to minus K dt. The boundary condition for each T1 to T2 and R is equal to R1, R2. As you can see in this diagram, the inner surface R1, T1 and the outer surface R2, T2. So these will be the boundary conditions. Upon integration, it will look like this. Two pi KL T1 minus T. The SI unit for Q conduction will be watts. Now this can be also rewritten as Q conduction of cylinder T1 minus T2 upon R of cylinder, where this is thermal resistance of cylindrical shell. And this will be equivalent to ln R2 by R1 2 pi Lk. And we'll use this result. Sorry, we'll use this result. I didn't mean to cut this. So this is 2 pi capital Lk. We'll use this result to derive an expression for multi-layered cylinder further. So I hope you understood till now. And what happens in heat conduction in cylinders. The heat conduction in cylinders is studied when the temperatures on the surfaces are kept constant. That is, it doesn't change with respect to time. Heat transfer in cylinders is one-dimensional because of the next reason itself. The temperature varies in the radial direction and it is independent of azimuthal angle or axial length. The thickness of the pipe is small, hence the temperature gradient is large, which we are talking about in the reference of the hot water steam pipe, and the rate of heat conduction in cylinders is constant. Now let us begin with multi-layered cylinders. Firstly, we'll understand what is the concept of multi-layered cylinders, its derivation, and then we'll understand why it is used. So let us begin. Multi-layered cylinder applications are more common and are used to reduce heat loss in pipes. That is that they are used so that we can reduce heat loss in pipes through insulation, etc. The pipes are generally covered with one or more layers of insulation. This is called lagging of pipe. We'll understand this through an example in at the end. Such cylinders covered in multi-layers are called composite cylinders because they're composed of different layers of cylinders. The steady heat transfer to multi-layered cylindrical shells can be handled just like multi-layered plane walls by simply adding an additional resistance in series for each additional layer. As we'll see, we'll continue the derivation for which we did in heat conduction in cylinders to further derive an expression for multi-layered cylinder. So this is how multi-layered cylinder looks. So you can see that there are multiple cylinders which are enclosed within each other. And these are pipes, as you can see, multiple cylinders. The pipe is formed through insulation, etc. So let's go through the derivation. So now we'll talk about multi-layered cylinders and how the expression for it is derived. So firstly, we'll look at the, the expression that will give us Q conduction by looking at its convection. So let's just suppose this is our cylinder where here the temperature is convective is and here on the outer surface it is to infinity 2. So the expression for cylinder for the length L, its heat the conduction for convection on both sides, it can be expressed in terms of Q is equal to T infinity 1 minus T infinity 2 upon R total. Now this R total, it is a total thermal resistance. We can express this as the sum of resistance because of convection 1 plus conduction through cylinder at surface 1 plus at 2 at surface 3 plus convection on the outermost surface. This will be equivalent to 1 by H1 A1 plus ln of R2 by R1 2 pi L. So taking a look at its section, we'll look at the section of this. So now we'll take a closer look at the section of the multi-layered cylinder and we'll define what is R connect R total in a better way. This R2 length, this will be R3, and the last one, this is R4. So now we can express this R total, which we wrote the expression for it before. We'll wrote it in again. This is sum of resistance because of convection, conduction at surface 1, conduction at surface 2, this conduction of at surface 3, and the final at the thermal resistance due to convection at outermost surface. So let's put down the values of this. It will be 1 upon 1 H1 upon, 1 upon H1 A1 plus ln of R2 by R1 2 pi capital L K1, because the length will be equivalent for, because these cylinders are concentric, therefore the length will be same. Ln of R3 by R2 R1 2 pi L K2 is thermal conductivity of the second cylinder. Ln R4 by R3 by L K3 plus 1 upon H2 A4. So I'm sorry, it's 2 here. So this is the expression for total thermal resistance. So we can say that this thermal resistance network are in series, and this we are just getting this thermal resistance by simply adding the arithmetic sum of this individual thermal resistance that comes in the path of heat flow. And since we can find out Q through this, that is heat conduction, by simply putting down these values. Now you might be wondering, this is equivalent to a thermal resistance network in series. So let's look at another diagram which it will look as like if we have to put it in diagrams. So it will look something like this. Yeah, it's these are just short forms of this R cylinder one. I've written this in short form. Otherwise, these both are same. So we see that T1, T2, T3, T4, these are intermediate temperatures, and T infinity 1, T infinity 2, that is ambient temperatures, these are known to us. So we'll find Q conduction between these 2 points, and hence use this expression, and we'll get the heat conduction by the use of this formula. Rate of conduction for this cylinder will be T infinity 1 minus T infinity 2 upon R total. Hence, we have derived the expression for heat conduction in multi-layered cylinders. So, to quickly summarize what we have learned through the derivation is that, as you can see, we can see that It can be compared to the series network, thermal resistance series network, where R total, yani ki, total thermal resistance is equal to convective resistances plus uh, con- uh, conductive resistances to the surfaces. As you can see, which is equivalent to 1 by H1 A1 plus ln of R2 by R1 upon 2 pi LK1 plus ln R3 by R2 upon 2 pi LK2 plus ln R4 by R3 upon 2 pi LK3 plus 1 by H2A4. And all of these can be referenced to this diagram. And A1 is equal to 2 pi R1L, while A4 is equal to 2 pi R4L. That is the outermost surface where the convective convective heat transfer takes place. So, to summarize, the thermal resistance network is in series, and hence the total thermal resistance is simply the arithmetic sum of the individual thermal resistance that occurs in the path of heat flow. You can see through the diagram, this is how the temperature drop will look like. The the pipe has a fluid at temperature T some inside tube, and you can see the temperature will slowly drop as as we move on to the next surface of the pipe. See, this changes, it gradually drops. So now we will talk about how to find intermediate temperatures. It is an important concept because we have to know what is happening inside of the pipe, what is occurring through the intermediate surfaces of the pipe, so we can better understand how it works, how the heat transfer will take place, or how much energy is lost. So, to determine intermediate temperatures, hello everybody. We will discuss how intermediate temperatures for multi-layered cylinders are determined, and for that we'll use the diagram of series network, which was the analogy for the multi-layered cylinders, which we derived in the derivation for multi-layered cylinders. So we'll use that diagram for a better understanding. So let me just quickly draw that diagram. So these were the known temperatures: T infinity 1, T infinity 2. And this was our convection, thermal resistance due to convection at surface 2, at surface. This will be R and surface 3, and this will be intermediate temperatures T1, T2, T3, T4. So we can see that this T infinity 1, T infinity 2, these are temperatures which are outside of the surface. uh, these these are ambient temperatures, and this T1, T2, T3, T4, these are intermediate temperatures. So let us look at how it can be found. So we have seen this is steady state, right? This is a steady state transfer. Hence we can say that Q conduction through cylinder is constant, and the de- uh, the derivation the expression we derived for the convection on both of the surfaces was T infinity 1 minus T infinity 2 upon R total. So we can say that this Q conduction through cylinder is equivalent to the expression delta T by R, where this delta T refers to the change in temperature and upon thermal resistance. So because this Q conduction through cylinder is constant because of its steady state, this delta T by R, this ratio will also be constant. So this is a very important point because this expression is how will determine intermediate temperatures. So let's come to the expression. We know that Q conduction is equal to T infinity 1 minus T infinity 2 upon R total. This we have derived in the previous derivation for multi-layered cylinders. So it is just a reference to that video. And we'll see that because it is in a series network, right? So the Q will go through this and it will be equal in it will be equally flowing everywhere because this is a series network and it is a steady state. So uh, this will be equivalent to T infinity 1 minus T1 upon I convection 1. This will be equivalent to T infinity 1 minus T2 upon R convection 1 plus I cylinder 1. And this will go on so on for T infinity 1, T3, T infinity T4, T infinity 1, T infinity 2. This we have already know this. So uh, we can say that this, so because this Q conduction is known, right? We will know these temperatures, we'll know this R total, we know this. We can easily find T1, T2, T3, these are intermediate temperatures. Hence, in short, we can talk about this expression. That expression will derive is that this Q conduction is equivalent to Ti minus Tj R total across Ij, where this Ti must be a known temperature. The Tj is what we have to find, that means intermediate temperature. And this R across Ij will be thermal resistance across the layer Ij. We can see this as this known temperature here, it's T infinity 1, this is the known temperature here, and the Tj, T1 here, it is the intermediate temperature, and thermal resistance across I cross J, that is T infinity 1, T1, it is R convection 1, and here it is T2, and it thermal resistance, because it is in network series, it will be simply added, so it will be equivalent to R convection 1 plus R cylinder 1. So this is how intermediate temperatures can be found, because we have to just know the value of Q conduction, and hence we can use these expressions to find out the intermediate temperatures, because and it is all thanks to the fact that delta T by R is equal to constant. So that is it. That is how we'll determine this, and I hope you have understood this clearly. Thank you. So the most important thing to understand out of all of this is that the ratio delta T by R across any layer is equal to rate of heat conduction, which remains constant in one-dimensional steady conduction. So this is the concept we have used so that we can determine intermediate temperatures. Now to make the understanding better, we'll go through a numerical. So as you can see, I'll read out this question. Steam at T1 flows in a cast iron pipe whose inner and outer diameters are D1 and D2 respectively. The pipe is covered with 3 centimeter thick glass wool insulation with K1. Heat is lost to the surroundings at T2 by natural convection and radiation with a combined heat transfer coefficient of H2. Taking the heat transfer coefficient inside the pipe to be H1, determine the rate of heat loss from the steam per unit length of the pipe. Also determine the temperature drops across the pipe shell and the insulation. So we'll break down this question into 4 parts. Firstly, we'll understand what it is given, what are the properties that are given, and then we'll understand what we have to determine, and what are the assumptions we need to proceed with this question. And finally, we'll move on to the analysis, that is solving this question. So let's begin with what we have to determine in this question. So we can see that a steam pipe is covered with glass wool insulation and it is subjected to convection on its surface. So we have to find out the rate of heat transfer per unit length and temperature drops across the pipe and the insulation. So before solving this question, there are a few assumptions we need to make so that we can solve this or analyze this easily. So let us understand what these assumptions will be. So as you can see from the question, there is no indication of any change with time. So therefore, we can say that heat transfer is steady. Hence, we can also say the rate of conduction of heat is constant. The heat transfer is one dimensional since there is thermal symmetry about the center line and no variation in the axial direction. Thermal conductivities are constant, which means they do not change with temperature or density. The thermal contact resistance at the interface is negligible. Now the given properties are the thermal conductivities are given. For cast iron, it is 80 watt per meter degree centigrade, and for glass wool insulation, it is 0.05 watt per degree centigrade. So as you can see, this huge difference is because it makes sense because insulation uh, provides resistance to heat transfer. So that is why the thermal conductivity for glass wool insulation is low, and cast iron it is high. So let's move on to the analysis portion and we'll solve this question and we'll understand how heat loss is reduced because of this insulation because of using multi-layered cylinders. So now we'll begin with analyzing this question and we'll solve it. And we've noticed this, there are according to this question, there are four resistance in series. And we'll assume the length of this cylinder to be 1 meter as it is not given in the question. So we'll just assume this. And we'll note down the values, we'll solve the values for A1, 2 pi R1 L. This will be 2 pi into 0.025 into 1 equal to 0.157 meter square. And next is the A3, 2 pi R to capital L is equal to 2 pi 0.0575 1 is equal to 0.361 meter square. So now we'll look at how the schematic diagram of this question looks. The situation is something like this. There are four resistors in series. This is T infinity 2, T infinity 1, Ri, R1, R2, and Ro. This Ri is the convective thermal resistance, and Ro is also the convective thermal resistance of the outer surface. R1 is the thermal resistance of insulation, and R1 is the thermal resistance of the pipe, and R2 is the thermal resistance of insulation. So I'll just quickly write this. This is pipe, and this is insulation. So we'll solve this question and we'll note down we'll solve down the question for the individual resistances. So Ri will be equal to 1 upon H1 A1 1 upon 60.0157. We'll note down the SI units later on. 0.106 degrees centigrade per watt. R1 will be equal to ln of R2 by R1 2 pi K1 L equal to ln of 2.75 by 2.5 into 2 by 180 into 1. So this will be equal to 0.002 degrees centigrade watt, and similarly R2 will be equal to ln of R3 by R2 upon 2 pi K2 by L. So we'll quickly solve this. heater by L. We'll put down the values from the question and it will come out to be 2.35 degrees centigrade per watt. Now let us find out the value of thermal resistance of the outermost surface. It will be Rho is equal to 1 upon H2A3 will be 1 upon 18 into 0.361 will be equal to 0.154 degrees centigrade per watt. So because these all resistance are in series, the R total for the R total we'll just add this all of this resistance. So R total will be Ri plus R1 plus R2 plus Ro. So this is how a total thermal resistance for this network will be found out, and it will come out to be 2.61 degrees centigrade per watt. So now we'll look at steady rate of heat loss from the steam becomes T infinity 1 minus T infinity 2 upon R total. This will be equal to 320 minus 5 upon 2.61 equal to 121 watt. This will be per meter pipe length. Now, heat loss for a given pipe length can be determined by multiply the above quantity, this quantity 121 by L. We'll just this is for 1 meter. So if suppose the length is L, the heat conduction rate will be into L. Now we'll find out the temperature drop. The temperature drop in pipe will be Q into resistance of pipe, which will be equal to 121 into 0.0002 0.02 degrees centigrade. And the temperature drop across the insulation will be Q dot into thermal resistance of insulation, which will be equal to 121 into 2.35, which will be equivalent to 284 degrees centigrade. These values are per meter pipe length. So we notice that the temperature between inner and outer surfaces of pipe differ by 0.02 degrees Celsius, and the temperature between inner and outer surface of insulation will differ by 284 degrees Celsius. So we notice the thermal resistance of pipe is too small as compared to others, and it can be neglected. So the temperature drop across the pipe, it is zero. The pipe can be assumed to be isothermal. The resistance to heat through insulated pipes, it is the resistance to heat flow in this insulated pipes is due to insulation. So now we see that heat loss can be reduced by uh, applying insulation, which is in fact the application of these multi-layered cylinders. So I hope you understood some concepts with the help of this question. Thank you. So this is how insulated pipes will look. See, as you can see, we'll see a practical application of this will be, so sorry, we'll conclude this question with some observations. The temperatures between the inner and the outer surfaces of the pipe differ by 0.0 degrees centigrade, whereas the temperature between the inner and the outer surface of the insulation differ by 284 degrees Celsius. This is a huge difference. So thermal resistance of the pipe is too small relatively to the other resistance, and it can be neglected without causing any significant error. The temperature drop across the pipe is practically zero, and thus the pipe can be assumed to be isothermal. The resistance to heat flow in insulated pipes is primarily due to insulation, and this is supported by the fact that it is such a huge differences from the inner and the outer surface of the insulation that heat is resisted, and hence we can, through this question we can understand how heat is reduced. Now we'll move on to a practical application of multi-layered cylinders is our double pipe heat exchanger. You can see through this diagram, the purpose of a heat exchanger is to increase the temperature of a cold fluid and decrease that of the hot fluid, which is in thermal contact, in order to achieve heat transfer. So you can see through this diagram that in the inner cylinder will have hot fluid and the outer will have the cold fluid, and energy transfer occurs. You can see this cross section. The derivation of it is similar to multi-layered cylinders. As you can see, this is convective resistances, this is conductive resistance, and hence it is a similar derivation of multi-layered
So
cylinders.
now to quickly summarize our topic, we'll summarize what we have learned so far. The heat conduction in cylinders is steady and this flow is one dimensional. The temperature varies in the radial direction. It is independent of azimuthal angle or axial length. The rate of heat conduction in cylinders is constant, and in multi-layered cylinders, the purpose of using multi-layered cylinders, it is to reduce heat loss in pipes, and it is covered with one or more layers of insulation. It is called lagging of pipe. These cylinders covered with multi-layers are called composite cylinders, and the steady heat transfer to multi-layered cylindrical is similar to multi-layered plain walls. We add to find the thermal resistance network. We'll understand that the for solving this multi-layered cylinders, we compare it with thermal resistance network, which is in series, and hence we can say that the total thermal resistance is the arithmetic sum of the individual thermal resistance in the path of heat flow. And to find intermediate temperatures, we use the concept of delta T, that is by R, that is the change in temperature upon thermal resistance across any layer is equal to rate of conduction of heat, which remains constant in a one-dimensional steady conduction. So these things we have learnt from the derivations, and the multi-layered cylinder is used in the concept of, in the practical example of double pipe heat exchanger, double heat pipes, etc. It is used in insulation, and the resistance to heat flow in insulated pipes is due to insulation. So that uses the concept of multi-layered cylinder, and thermal resistance of the pipes is relatively small to other resistances. The temperature drop across the pipe as compared to the insulator will be practically zero. So the pipes which we use for calculation, it can be assumed to be isothermal. It was observed by the question that the outer surfaces of the installation was a large difference. So that is how we concluded that there's a lot of resistance to heat flow with the help of insulation. So I guess that's it. Hope you understood. So this was the end of my presentation for multi-layered cylinders. I hope everything was understood clearly, and every topic which was relevant to the multi-layered cylinders was covered comprehensively in my presentation. I would like to thank everyone who listened, and also I would like to take a minute to express my gratitude towards Dr. Shashikant Yadav sir, my mentor, my teacher, who gave me this wonderful opportunity to present this topic on multi-layered cylinders. So thank you sir, thank you everyone. That is it from my side.